Welcome back to vdiscovery Product Showcase. Today we're looking at BatchGuru. BatchGuru is a tool that's designed to automate some of the common tasks you do in Relativity. For example, updating a field for production or performing an export. If you're familiar with the concept of transform sets, BatchGuru picks up where transform sets leave off. It performs manipulation on a specific field and alters data, copying it from one field to another. Some features that are included in BatchGuru are available through custom scripts or can be done in Microsoft Excel with formulas. However, we find that using BatchGuru ensures consistency from production to production or from request to request. So whenever you perform certain data manipulation, next time you have to do it, it is done exactly the same way. So let me take you to my computer and show you some of the data manipulations we can do with BatchGuru. First, I'm going to show you how to use BatchGuru to generate custom hash values. So I have a saved search setup called custom MD5, and I'm going to go to drop down of BatchGuru, and I will select MD5 Hash Generator. And you can see all other tools included here, but we're just going to do MD5 Hash Generator. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to create a batch. In our case, we're going to name it custom MD5. We're going to select a data source, which is a saved search we just looked at. And also we're going to use fields we are going to use to generate custom hash value. For this example, I'm just going to pick 3. And then we'll specify our destination field. This is where we're going to save our newly generated hash values. Now I'm going to run this batch. And while this batch is running, I'm going to explain why we generate custom hash value based on certain metadata fields. The reason for that is custom deduplication. Sometimes it's called metadata matching. This is where a client is reviewing documents and they say, look, we're seeing duplicates. I know you performed deduplication. However, take a look at these documents. They are identical, at least to a human. So to a computer, they may be different, but to a human, they're the same. So they would contact us and say, can you see if you can remove those? So what we would do is look at sets of fields we can use to perform deduplication. That's going to be a little bit more loose than the deduplication that's baked into the application that's used for processing. And what we're able to do is remove more duplicates than with normal deduplication. So let's see how this batch did. All right, I'm going to click on refresh, and it seems like the batch had finished. So let's go back to the documents table, and we can see that hash values indeed were generated. Now we can use Relativity deduplication script to identify documents based on these values. In our situation, we're going to use 3 fields as an example. In a real-world application, you would use way more fields than this. Now let's take a look at another tool, date format tool. This tool will take a date from a normal date time field, and it will format to whatever date and time format you need, military time, any European formats, and save it to a text field. This way you can use that field in the production specifications if they require date to appear differently than it is exported by default. So let's go back to the computer, and we are going to switch to a different saved search. I'm going to click on date format, and here we have some documents, and we have date sent, which contains date and time. I'm going to go to date format, and again, I'm going to look at an existing batch just to save a little bit of time. Each batch has a name, and just like before, we have a data source, which is saved search we just looked at. We're going to take date time, and we can convert it to any of these preset formats. I'm just going to pick this one because it looks different from everything else. If you need to, you can customize date format here. And finally, where are we going to save the results of this process? And this is going to be this field. We're going to save this and run this batch. Now, when running this batch, this job is being sent off to the server, so you don't actually have to wait for it to finish here. You can navigate and do something else. And in fact, multiple users can submit batches at the same time, and all of them will be worked on the server at the same time, depending on how many agents are available. So now that this batch is finished, we're going to go back to Documents tab, and we can see if the date formatting has been done. And there we go. The date has been formatted from this format to something like that. So those are a few examples how you can use BatchGuru to manipulate fields and copy them from one field to another, modifying them in the process. One of the interesting tools in BatchGuru is time zone converter. Sometimes data gets processed in their own time zone, or you may want to see data presented in another time zone so that you could chronologically sort it if their data has been processed in multiple time zones. Datetime converter will convert date and time from one time zone to another, accounting for daylight savings time. Production helper and production exporter help when creating productions. Production helper will update number of fields that are required for most of the common productions. In fact, all the fields required for SEC could be updated with one click of a button. Production exporter, on the other hand, will perform an export of this data, but it will run this process on the server, so you don't have a workstation that's tied up with the export process, and you don't need to use desktop client to perform export operation. Everything can be done through Relativity's user interface, and in fact, if you're a Mac user, you may not be able to run desktop client at all. And that concludes quick look at BatchGuru. If you found this interesting, I'll be happy to go over all the tools BatchGuru offers and explain to you what they do and how they work. If you're hosting data with vdiscovery and you would like BatchGuru enabled in your workspace, please ask your project manager, they'll be happy to do it for you. If you have any more questions, feel free to contact vdiscovery, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow vdiscovery on social media networks listed on your screen, and for previous videos, check us out on YouTube.